there's a quote by Raimundo Panikkar. Not everyone has the inclination to take up the vocation of monasticism, but all of us have some part of us which is a monk or a nun, and that should be cultivated. So we have the opportunity to cultivate our inner monk or nun this week as we focus on renunciation. Nekama is the Pali word for renunciation, often translated as to go forth, to go out, giving up the world and leading a holy life, freedom from lust, craving, and desire. Often the going forth is really connected to going into monastic life, right? Monks and nuns are even called renunciates. And another translation is the pleasure of renunciation, the pleasure of renunciation. And I appreciated that one of the definitions noted that the Pali word seems to emphasize more what is gained in the going forth rather than what is left behind, as the English translation renunciation does. And this feels really important as we turn toward renunciation this week, focusing on noticing what is gained in this practice. Because we gain so much by letting go, by setting down, by abstaining. We gain space, right? By choosing not to act, we create space to notice and observe what's happening, which gives us the chance to actually connect with what's here, opens the door to appreciation and gratitude. And Pema Chodron echoes this. She says, the ground of renunciation is realizing that we already have exactly what we need, that what we have already is good. Every moment of time has enormous energy in it, and we could connect with that. So there's this life here. Every moment has so much energy that we can connect to and appreciate. And with the space also, we gain the capacity to be with and notice what's within us. The energy, the volitional energies that are always arising within us, within the body and the mind and heart, which usually kind of motivate and bring us into action like a wave. And this intentional energy that we often don't notice or see fully because it happens so fast. We need that kind of non-action, that space to see that. So by saying, no, I'm not going to do that, or I'm abstaining from this, there is that absence. And we can begin to slow down and see, whoa, this is desire. Oh, this is aversion that wants me to go out and say this thing or react this way. And many of you have experienced that already on retreats, right? When we usually take a few of the vows that monastics take. They take many, many more and live by those, right? Ongoing. But a vow of silence, perhaps not engaging in sexual activity, not eating after a certain time, setting phones down. So that boundary, the no, the loving no, gives us that space. In that space, we have the opportunity to gain wisdom and insight. And ultimately, renunciation helps to uproot greed, hatred, and delusion. And as we hear that, sometimes there can be a reaction like, well, that's really extreme, right? I'm not those things. And yet we want to really see all of the subtle ways that we are motivated into action by those very things without realizing it. We roll our eyes or snap at someone we love. We send off that judgmental text or email. We spend hours watching our favorite show and kind of emerge a little bit in a stupor. At least I do. And so seeing this, really seeing the energy of our intention, volitional energy, takes time to really deeply get a felt sense of. It's not cognitive. And so renunciation gives us that space and the opportunity to have reps, just like our meditation practice on the cushion. And so as we begin to see more and see what's going inside, we can feel into our interconnectedness more. We may understand impermanence, cause and effect more deeply. And this often leads to us wanting our actions to be motivated by the intention of well-being for ourselves and others, non-harm. And this is that connection, right, between wise intention and wise action. And there's an image that I really like from the Dhammapada. As a bee gathers nectar and moves on without harming the flower, its color, or its fragrance, just so should a sage walk through a village. And there's that movement, right? The aliveness. This is about how we move through the world. We're taking responsibility for our energy because we can see how not being mindful leads so quickly and so easily to discharging greed, hatred, and delusion out into the world and onto others. And with renunciation, we're kind of choosing instead to metabolize those energies within ourselves. And this is that also connection between renunciation and sila, ethical practice. And so as we consider all that we gain, right? Space to connect, appreciate, the capacity to discern our intention, commit to ethical action, it brings joy. And the definition that I shared at the beginning, the pleasure of renunciation. There are so many poems and suttas where the joy is what's focused on, right? These words like bliss, delight. Just looking at some of these, like, whatever bliss in the world is found in sensual pleasures, these are not worth 1/16th part of the bliss that comes with craving's end. All embracing love, freedom, these are the words associated with renunciation. That peace and relief of not being so driven and caught by our desires and aversions and our blindness, and in knowing that we're not adding more harm to the world. So Lori and I really wanted to invite everyone to choose one thing this week to focus on in your practice of renunciation. And we thought it might be better to really focus on one, hopefully because it will be a little bit more attainable, rather than kind of this sense of like, what do I need to renunciate? Like there's so many things. And also so that we have the opportunity to go a little bit deeper if we're focusing just on one thing. And to do this together so that there really is that support. So I'm just going to say some ideas, but you may have your own already. One may be to give up alcohol or caffeine use this week, to consider any of the multiple ways of setting down unwise speech. So perhaps not talking about anyone who isn't immediately present. This is something Joseph Goldstein has shared practicing. Or refraining from emailing, texting, having conversations when there's kind of judgment or harshness present for you. Or maybe give up checking social media. Maybe abstain from acting on sexual energies. Limit your water use to that which is only needed. Maybe give up buying anything single-use plastic, right? Anything that includes that. Not watching TV or movies or shows for the week. So these are just ideas and none of them is bad. The point of renunciation is not to label anything as evil, but really to be working with those energies that move us into them and our relationship to them. And certainly a lot of this practice for you is going to be off the cushion, right? Thinking about that sage walking through the village like the bee, not harming. This is how we move through our lives. But also on the cushion, you might consider you'll probably come up against the same energy, right? It's going to be there. And so there can just be that extra attention of like, oh, right, this is what causes me to write that angry email. This is what, I'm sitting here just thinking about all the things I want, what I want to eat, right? Just kind of noticing the energy of it when you're on the cushion. I'm choosing to focus on setting down my phone when I'm not just like needing to answer a call or setting an alarm. And I definitely have parts of me that are rolling my eyes, like, really, you have to work on this, but I do. I have really noticed that I'm going to my phone much more frequently and compulsively when I'm tired, when I'm anxious, when I'm bored, when I'm irritated, um, checking the email, reading the news, playing word games, looking at and researching things that I might want to buy. And I keep doing it, even though I always emerge empty, kind of no sense of time and place, not connected to myself, not connected to anyone around me. And so that's really what I want to focus on so that I can understand a little bit of what's going on there and maybe feel into some options for caring for myself that are a little more wise, and I can be a little more present. So this is a poem by Ryokan, which I felt like brought together a lot of this. With little desire, all is sufficient. With grabbing mind, myriad things are confined. Light vegetables satisfy my hunger. A patched robe wraps my body. Walking alone, I'm accompanied by deer. Singing aloud, I play with village children. I wash my ears in a creek under the boulder, delighted by pine trees on a ridge. So we hear so much of what's gained by renunciation, right? The spaciousness, contentment, and connection with what's here. Aliveness of kind of moving through our lives with kindness and non-harm, and the joy and freedom and relief in that. And so let's practice together, connecting with our inner monastics this week. Thank you. Thanks for your attention. And let's all take some time just to feel into the body a little bit, maybe stretch, invite some breaths. Anything that's going to help you come into a really comfortable, really supported posture. You can feel upright, relaxed. Maybe feel your sit bones and pelvis and hips really relaxing into the ground, supported by the chair or the floor or cushion. See if the belly can soften. The hands and feet can soften, relax. The shoulders, muscles in the face and neck. Doing this all with care, with patience. Allowing ourselves to arrive again. Maybe letting the attention rest a little more into the body, perhaps following the breath, or receiving sounds. We can also notice the space around the body, the air that we breathe in and out, our connection, our connection. And as you begin to really land and slow down, you might also begin to notice the energies in the mind, in the body, in the heart, without having to change it. Just receiving what's here, what you're coming into today with, maybe some restlessness or heaviness, irritation, exhaustion. And see if there can be some space in moments to really receive that. Receiving without having to follow or add to. And gently notice what's happening now. Just seeing what energies are here, how they may be contributing to thoughts, feelings being preoccupied in some way. No judgment. But if you notice that, oh, this is a pattern I know, or this may not be skillful, seeing what it's like to release it, to not follow the volition of that energy, to set it down gently, lovingly, say no. Come back maybe to your anchor, breath, sounds, the felt sense of your body, hands touching your legs or the lap. Thank you so much. Thanks for your practice.